Thank you, Srinu. Srinu, we recently had another meeting. He was appointed by the governor to the Administrative Hearing Commission, and I had the pleasure of shepherding his sponsorship through Senate confirmation. The Administrative Hearing Commission, as many of you know, deal with professional licensing issues, so he will be an important man to know in the future for many of you. I'm pleased to be here, and as Srinu said, I represent the area around here where the temple is, but also many of you all are my constituents. The district goes from Ellisville up to Florissant, and from 270 west to the Missouri River, although it takes in all of town and country. I want to compliment Belvehar today for organizing this fundraiser and for your ongoing work. It's important that you teach your strong family values to your children, that you create productive citizens by instilling in your children the importance of volunteerism in the community. Things like your clothing drives, your can drives, your bone marrow and blood drives, and your Katrina relief collection that you did. I especially appreciate the temple's focus on its faith and demonstrating that faith in the community by such activities as delivering sandwiches and working in the soup kitchen for homeless individuals through the United Methodist Church downtown, offering free legal and medical clinics. I know there's a high percentage in your community of physicians, and your very generous offer of your ability to these people in need is most appreciated by many. As an aside, many of you know that we are having to cut the budget very drastically in the Missouri legislature, just like we are in many other states. What I'm finding, interestingly enough, is that many faith-based groups are stepping up to the plate to fill the gaps that we are cutting. I believe that government is taking away services, or has, that was originally promoted and provided by community faith-based groups. So you've been doing that all along, and I think as the budget is cut, there will be more opportunities for you to step into those gaps. A couple of them I would mention that you may consider. We may totally cut out funding for summer school. I hope we don't. It's not my desire to do that, but we may have to. Drug and alcohol counseling, those are types of things, the services that will be cut out of the budget for government. I have more physicians in my senatorial district than any other senator, so I do work on many of the issues that deal with the Missouri Medical Association and the St. Louis Metropolitan Medical Association. I can remember first starting in about 2005 with our tort reform efforts that insulated our physicians from escalating medical malpractice premiums. And actually, just this past week, there was a Medicaid fraud bill that would open the doors, floodgates, I should say, by making whistleblowers into bounty hunters for doctors' medical practices. So there's ongoing work with the medical community that I'm involved in. My primary effort this particular session has been my Healthcare Freedom Act, which I'm not going to talk about in this discussion, but perhaps we can talk about it later if any of you are interested in that. I wanted to share something more personal with you about my background dealing with a commitment to protecting freedom of religions. In the late 80s and early 90s, I was on the Ladue Board of Education. Prior to our son entering Ladue schools, I started a little Bible study club on our street. And when our sons got to school age, we invited their friends to that little club. Kind of similar to what you do, your commitment to instill those family values into your children. I was trying to do the same thing. Part of the teaching that we did was also character traits like responsibility, respectfulness, and discipline. That's what we were trying to do. When we got to the school, we invited our son's friends, and the principal came to me one day and said, "I'm noticing a huge difference in behavior by the children that have been coming to your little club. What are you doing that we don't seem to be able to achieve, because our counselors have been working with some of these boys for years without changing their behavior, and all of a sudden you're changing it suddenly because the boys are telling us that you have asked them to find out what they need to improve or what they need to change, and you've asked them to ask their teachers and their parents. How have you done it?" And I said, "What I'm doing is based on religion and faith, and you can't do that in the public schools." So the principal started sending those boys in the school to get them turned around. And I imagine that you have noticed that the behavior of your students in school is very exemplary of the kinds of students that the schools would like to have, just because of the culture and faith that you instill in them. When the boys got to junior high age, they could no longer meet at our home, so under the school policy, we asked for a classroom, just as you've done here. You're using a public school facility. We did the same thing under the Ladue school policy for use of facilities. And we added some things to our club. We added girls, and we also added etiquette classes. And I found at the junior high level, the boys and girls both were very interested in learning etiquette rules. One of the counselors at the school one day came to me and said, "I want to tell you, I can always tell when you've had your club here, because the students in the entire school are better for several days after it." And I said, "I don't understand that, because I only have 10 to 20% of the students from the school in the club." And she said, "Whatever you teach them infiltrates this whole school, and I can tell by their behavior that things are better." But with those positive things happening, the school board, and remember I was on that school board, decided to throw that religious-based club out. The parents of the students that participated in the club came to public school board meetings and said, "Please don't throw the club out. If you do, we will sue you." Now, I want to mention one other thing about this club. That counselor who came to me asked me, "How do you have the most successfully diverse club in the school?" Because we had a lot of